We have been sold such a lie when it comes to working hard, and this idea that the only way that you can get whatever you want in your life is to grind and hustle your way there all hours of the day. So if you're ready to learn how to get the most out of your day and reach success without burning out, without being overworked, then welcome to the Lazy Girl Guide to Being Successful. Before I get into this video, guys, I really just want to give you a quick little peep at my jewelry because I'm very, very excited. I got some new pieces from Ana Luisa, including this beautiful necklace. They have the most insane jewelry pieces. I really recommend you check them out. I'll give you a little close up. I got this new gorgeous ring. I'm sorry, are you seeing that right now? I love the mixed metal details in it because my engagement ring is super silver, but I am a gold girly. I love wearing things that are mixed metals so I can tie them all together. I also got this really dainty, it kind of looks like a wedding band, so I could potentially wear this as my wedding band. Again, it's got that mixed metal moment, so it's got those diamantes with the yellow band in the middle, which I absolutely love. If you guys want to check out Ana Luisa and their jewelry, I'll leave all the details down below in the description box. Okay, let's get straight into the video, guys. I'm going to be breaking this video down into a few different sections. The first one is all about organization. Organizing your life, organizing your calendar, organizing what you're doing day to day and how to do that effectively. So one of my top tips when it comes to organizing your day-to-day schedule and your calendar is to leave gaps in between each task, each meeting. The secret to actually being productive and efficient during the day is building in those periods of time where you can actually just take a breath. Take a step back. You don't have to be go all the time, and I'll get into that a bit later as to why that can actually be detrimental rather than help you. Now, if you are someone that works 9 to 5 and works in corporate, I know that can be super tricky if you're not fully in control of your calendar. If you have other people in your team perhaps actually scheduling meetings with you, one great tip is actually pre-block your calendar yourself. So if you already have meetings that maybe you've scheduled or that are already in the diary, block out the times before and after those meetings, so you have those little buffer breaks where you can switch gears from one topic to the next and you just have that little breathing space. Equally, I would always suggest, and this is something my company, when I used to work in corporate, was really good at doing, or they started to become quite good at doing, is they kind of implemented this rule where you should only really be starting your meetings at 5 past the hour and ending them at 5 to. So it did give you that little 10-minute break between meetings. So if people were scheduling meetings like back to back in the hours, it actually still enabled you to have that 10-minute break, because between 15 minutes and an hour, generally, especially when you're working in corporate, you don't need your meeting to be taking up the full hour a lot of the time. A lot of these meetings are just people making themselves look busy. Now, in my day-to-day, I love to make sure I'm leaving gaps in my calendar in between blocks of tasks. Now, I'll give myself a good lunch break to make sure I have time to cook it, to eat it, to digest it. Now, I'm not telling you this because during that time you're just gonna sit and zone out or scroll on your phone or, you know, like just literally be lazy. The point of having that time in between tasks is to actually take a step back for a minute, evaluate the work that you've just done, figure that out in your head before moving on to the next thing. A lot of us get very caught up very quickly with this idea of, oh, having to go from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing and being busy. Busyness is actually a form of laziness because you don't actually think when you're busy. You're just doing and you're in motion, which is another point I'll go more into later in the video. So the key takeaway from that tip was essentially give yourself time to reflect on tasks that you are doing or meetings that you're a part of or things that are going on in your day before moving on to the next thing. Make sure you've summarized and closed it out. Make sure you're not rushing to the next thing just because something's been ticked off or the meeting has ended. It is so important to actually fully close it off in your head and actually be very clear on next steps, on the actions. Just summarize and come to a conclusion of what that piece of work was, or even if you need to revisit it at another time, you're aware of that. Know exactly where you're going to pick up next. Don't leave it till the next time for you to do that because it'll take you so much longer. Okay, organization tip number 2. This is along a similar lines, but this time I want to emphasize to you the importance of scheduling time away from your desk. Now, this is along a similar vein of point number 1, but this one is more to actually stop thinking about work. Like, actually take time out of your day and switch off your brain away from work. Do something completely different. Completely switch your focus away from work altogether. It's so important to do this during the day and give yourself that time away because, especially when you're getting all caught up on what you've got to do, you really do lose sight of what your priorities are, what's actually important. And sometimes you get too stuck into the detail of things that you start stressing yourself and feeling like you need to work extra long when if you just took a minute to step away and clear your mind a little bit and just give yourself that bit of a refresh and come back to the problem or whatever you're working on, you will see things in a different light and you'll see things a lot more clearly because you've given your brain that little rest. And then you'll be able to realize that actually, this is the way I should be doing this. This is the priority. That actually isn't that important. So I don't know why I was getting stressed over that. This is what I'm going to focus on and this is how we're going to do it going forward. You trust me when I say you will have so much more clarity coming away from a task and giving your brain that rest from it than you will constantly banging your head against a brick wall, trying to get through it, trying to get it done and staring at your screen for hours and, you know, like looking through all the work over and over and over again. There is so much power in stepping away and actually switching your focus sometimes, especially when you find yourself getting into a rut, and it will actually make the process a lot easier, a lot more efficient, and a lot less stressful as well. Okay, organization tip number 3 is to not add more than 3 non-negotiable tasks to your schedule per day. I don't want you to be focusing on 10 different tasks, whether they're minuscule or not. Like, pick 3 priority tasks in your day. That's all you need to do to have a productive day. Maximum 3. It could be 1 even. If you've got a really important project that you're working on and you do have a few other niggly things to get done, but this project has an imminent deadline and it's what you need to focus on, you know it's taking a lot of time and energy to get right, make that your priority to actually focus on the entire day. So obviously split it up into tasks and, you know, be very clear on how you're going to tackle it throughout the day, but make that your priority. Don't add extra little things to the to-do list. I think I've been guilty of this too, where I get very excited about to-do lists and being able to tick loads of things off my list, but actually a lot of the time I get myself really overwhelmed with the things that I add to the list, because I add things to the list but they don't necessarily have to get done today. But they're things in general I have to get done. A lot of them aren't that urgent. You start to feel a bit of urgency because you put it on that list, and you feel super unproductive because you haven't actually gone ahead and been able to tick it off for that day. So don't put it on the list for that day. Stop writing endless to-do lists because they are so not helpful. Pick 3 priorities for the day and stick to those. Get those done. Maximum 3. I'm saying 3, but that's actually the maximum. If you've got 1 or 2, that's even better. Because once you deep dive and focus on a task and make that your mission for the day, number 1, you're definitely going to get that done because that's literally your only focus for the day. Number 2, if it's a big task with a big deadline and it's something that uses all your energy, when it comes to the end of the day, you're going to feel so much more relieved that you actually are 1 step closer to closing that thing off. So overall, you are so much more efficient. You're getting done tasks that are actually important to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there are niggly things, maybe admin tasks and things that have to be added, otherwise they'll build up. As much as possible, add maximum 3 tasks to your to-do list. Maybe when you want to take a break from those tasks and you want to get a bit of admin done, fill the gaps with the admin or the extra little tasks. But don't let those be the focus on your list and your schedule for the day. We are all so prone to procrastinating and focusing on the little niggly things. And if you then add them to your schedule or attach a sense of priority towards them, you're not going to get done the important things. You're not going to actually focus your time on those. So that's why I say limit the amount of things on your to-do list for the day, because you'll have less pressure. You'll feel more relieved that once you actually get that thing done, then you're basically done for the day. So that's a win right there. The idea is to not put pressure on yourself, but also get the important things done. Now, this tip actually takes me on to the next section, which is taking action. And it very nicely leads into the first tip in this section, which is the 80-20 rule and how to follow that. Now, this is based on the Pareto principle, I think it's called. But essentially, the Pareto principle is based on the idea that 80% of your results that you get from any work that you do is actually derived from 20% of the action that you're taking. So you could be doing loads and loads of different tasks throughout the day, but only 20% of that work you're doing in the day is getting your actual 80% results. That's why it's so, again, important to narrow down the actual tasks that you're doing during the day and figure out what tasks are actually going to lead me closer to that result. So this is another layer on that step that I've just shared before about creating those 3 priorities for the day, maximum. The way to figure out what are the priorities is to figure out what is going to get the results that you want. So what tasks are actually going to have a direct impact on that result that you want from the work that you're doing. So by doing this, you essentially decipher what tasks you're doing actually get you the result, and you cut away the crap. And by being results focused, you are then actually spending more time on those tasks that are going to get you closer to the results that you want and are actually producing the results that you want, versus the little tasks that are really not making any impact on your progress. The main way that you can really start to implement this 80-20 rule is being able to analyze the direct results that you're getting from each of the tasks that you're completing. So for example, answering emails all day long, is that actually getting you towards your end goal? Is that bringing you closer? Maybe there are certain emails that you're getting answers for, so that's actually helpful. So then in that case, yes. But if you're in a corporate setting and there are loads of tasks that are kind of being pushed your way, they're taking you away from the priorities that you have and the tasks that you need the space and time to do to actually get you to the result that you need and that end goal and that thing that you're working towards, then start looking at delegating those extra tasks to someone else. Start looking at speaking to your managers and telling them, look, this is my priorities, this is what I'm focusing on, this is what I really need to spend most of my time doing in order to get these results. But I've got all of this back here that is taking up all of my time and energy. What do I do about this? How can I spread this out, or how can I get some help to manage this? That's such an important conversation to have at work if you do find yourself getting spread really thin. But also, even if you're self-employed and you're working by yourself, a lot of the time you can get stuck into that trap of focusing on the unimportant things or the things that you think are really, really crucial. Changing the color theme of your website for the 1000th time. Like, there's all kinds of things that you kind of get stuck into that you think are super important and are going to propel you towards your goal. But actually, if you analyze each and every task that you undertake every day and look at the direct correlation as to how that's actually progressed you further towards your goal, you will realize that a lot of the tasks that you're doing are not actually having that much impact. And that hurts to figure out and that hurts to hear, I know, but I'm here to tell you that actually you can be doing less and actually making more progress. So think about that for a second. You don't have to actually work all hours of the day to be successful or to be productive or to actually get things done. Like, this whole idea of working 9 to 5, feel like even when you are someone that is an entrepreneur, but you've come from a 9 to 5 corporate background, you generally do find it really hard to think about having a productive day if you've worked less than 8 hours in the day, because that is like the standard, and even that is a bare minimum, to be honest. 8 hours in corporate, like, you normally are expected to do over that amount of hours. So when you then work for yourself, or in general, if you're just stuck in that kind of corporate bubble, you do automatically start thinking that if I'm not working minimum 8 hours in a day, then there's nothing happening in my day. Like, I'm not being productive enough. But that's not true at all. You can be so unproductive and be working like 15-20 hour days but still be super, super unproductive. So these are the tips I'm sharing with you to actually cut down the hours that you're working during the day but still maintain that productivity and actually make sure that the things that you're doing are actually moving you closer and progressing towards the goals and the results that you want for your life. Okay, tip number 2, when it comes to taking action, you need to be taking sloppy action. That is the tip. Take sloppy action, because taking some form of into the direction that you want to be in is so much more important than not taking any action at all. You just need to take action in any direction. It doesn't even matter if you come from the side, the back, the front, the middle. Like, just take some form of action towards what you want and stop being in this analysis paralysis state where you just don't know which way to go and you don't know if it's the right way to do things and you don't know if that's the correct thing and you're going to have to redo it. Doesn't matter. Take that sloppy action. Just take any form of action in the direction that you want to go in and figure it out from there. For example, if you're starting a business and you genuinely don't know what the right thing to start with is, whether it's selecting your products, creating your website, you've got to create social medias, you've got to get samples, you've got to figure out a photo shoot. There's so many things that you could have in your brain of things that you need to start doing. I need to get a domain, I need to hire people to make stuff for me. There's so many things, and sometimes you really genuinely don't know what the first thing is you should do. Now, the first thing I would always do is just write out everything I need to do and then work backwards and see like what order everything would go in. That's still taking some form of action, sloppy action. But if you just want to like get started and you're crippled by the idea of like which comes first, do either, any, it doesn't matter, just do one of them. Like, don't get bogged down with the idea of doing things in the correct order, doing things in the right way. Sometimes there's no such thing as a right way. You just gotta do it. Be sloppy. Just be sloppy in the direction of that thing. Don't fuss about it being the right way. Just Start and work your way through it. Okay, tip number 3 when it comes to taking action. Now, this is on a similar vein to what I was saying before, and it's about learning the difference between being in motion and actually taking action itself. Now, being in motion is, like I mentioned before, the example of someone that works for 20-hour days and they're just super busy. Again, busyness is a form of laziness because you're not actually thinking about what you're doing a lot of the time. If you're busy in the office, what are you actually doing? Are you just walking around the office aimlessly? Are you just printing stuff? Are you just sending emails here, there, and everywhere? Like, what are you actually doing that's taking up all this time? Just because something's taking up all your time doesn't actually mean that that is, a productive action to be doing. So being in motion is the person that's like sending loads of emails and super busy and answering loads of calls at work and, got loads of people to talk to at work and always on the phone and always got like a task that they need to do. And it takes them all day long to do that thing. And then they're working overtime and they're so busy. But actually during the day, they're just in motion. When it comes to the end of the day, they don't actually feel that productive or that they've accomplished that much. And they haven't actually made that much progress towards that goal that they were working towards this entire time. Because they weren't actually taking action. They were in meetings all day that they didn't even need to be in, having conversations that they had 3 weeks prior about the same old thing. So you've just got to be very careful about this idea of being busy, having this full calendar. Like I said before, having a full calendar does not do you any favors. It's not going to be that thing that makes you successful. I don't know why people had this idea that, the busy person is the super successful one. The busy person is the one that has so much to do and they're so productive. Being busy doesn't mean that you're a productive person. It just means that you're a person in motion. You're moving around a lot. So don't be that person that just moves around a lot. Be that person that is actually taking action, and actually every single task that they do is something that is propelling them forward towards their goal and actually producing results for them. So all I want you to do when you think about this point is think with each and every action or task that you do during the day, is that just you being in emotion? Is that you just being on the go? Or is that actually you producing results and actually progressing towards what you want to be doing? You don't need to be looking busy. You don't need people to think you are busy just because you have had that 15-30 minute break in between meetings and you've just been digesting and maybe you've just been sitting there having a bit of a brain rest. You're not less productive than the person who's just gone back to back between meetings and hasn't even digested what they heard in the first meeting and now has to spend a good hour next week trying to remember all that information and all the missing points that they missed and didn't have a chance to write down. There's so many benefits to making sure that you're taking time to yourself whilst all the actual tasks and actionable things you're doing are you taking action and not you just being busy. Because moving around a lot and looking busy doesn't mean that you actually are. Now onto the last section of this video. This is all about acquiring knowledge. I have one key tip for you in this section of the video. Now, this tip is to utilize the knowledge of those around you. We are always taught to go and learn it yourself, go and figure it out yourself, go and learn these new skills, which is all great. And I always will advocate for people to learn new things, read books, gain new knowledge, and learn new skills. But there is no person on this earth that is able to acquire infinite knowledge and also learn every possible skill that there is in the entire world. Like, you're just never going to get to that point. And the whole point of us being human beings that can communicate with each other, that can form communities and share things with each other and have these wildly different upbringings and experiences and perspectives of the world, different experiences that you can then draw on and actually learn about, and then that will help propel you and gain knowledge that way. You don't always have to gain all your knowledge from reading and studying and learning everything for yourself. The point of this is it's really not your job to have all the knowledge already up here and make yourself feel bad about not knowing stuff. It's just a case of leveraging your network. And if you feel like you don't really have a network, then reach out to people online, email people you look up to. You'll be so surprised how open people are to sharing their own knowledge and actually communicating with others, especially in the age of social media. It's so easy. With the click of a button, you can literally access pretty much anyone. So if there's someone that you look up to, drop them a message. Instead of necessarily going and researching something and spending loads of time finding that answer, if you know someone that could have a really good answer. So for example, if you're trying to set up a business and you want to know the most successful way to do it, or you want to know the things to avoid, and you know someone that started a business from the ground up and they've made 6 figures in their first couple of months or year, and you know that they've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, go and ask that person. Go and ask them the questions that you have about starting a business. business. Rather than reading all the books in the world about starting a business and going through an instruction manual on how to do it, just go to the source and the people that actually have that knowledge and have had that experience for themselves, because that's the quickest and easiest way to get the answers. You don't always have to kind of learn everything from scratch yourself. I feel like we've been taught that that is kind of the best way to go about things, but not always. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to like learn through other people's, whether that's their mistakes, just their learnings in general. So yeah, leverage your network or create a network for yourself, and that is definitely a really, really great way of just even expanding your own perspective of the world, of different things, and learning a lot quicker. Because like when you learn via a conversation and via other people's experiences, it also brings to life the learnings as well. So I always find it a lot more of an interesting way to learn, and a way that you can really glean so much more than you would if you just kind of read a book for dummies on, you know, how to build a business or how to buy a house, or, you know, all these things that you probably have loads of questions on. Okay, you guys, that brings me to the end of this video. I really, really hope that you liked it. I hope this really, really helped you figure out how you can still be a lazy girl and be successful at the same time, because the things that I mentioned in this video are honestly probably the opposite of what you've heard from anywhere else, just in terms of the idea that you don't really have to be that super busy person that's got a full calendar, that looks like they're doing loads of things to be super successful and to be really productive and really reach your goals. And if you're the kind of girl that wants to be in your soft girl era but also be super successful in her own right and, you know, get ish done, then hopefully these tips in this video have really helped boost your confidence in knowing that that is totally possible. Like, I'm not about us being overworked, stressed, anxious, you know, just like burning ourselves out. That's not good for anyone, and that is not the way to live a successful life in its own right. And I'm talking like not monetarily, just in general, in terms of your own health, in terms of your own well-being. Like, success can mean different things to different people, but ultimately having general success in life doesn't only equate to wealth. So I just want to make sure that my girlies are aware that you can absolutely have that soft girl life and make sure, you know, things are moving forward for you. So definitely let me know how you found the video and if you found any of the tips helpful. If you have any tips at all that maybe I've missed in this video, definitely drop them in the comments. I want us all to help each other out here. Make sure you also check out the Ana Luisa jewelry. I will leave the link down below for you guys so you can see all the pieces they have to offer, because let me tell you, they are super, super stunning and I really recommend. But anyways, you guys, I'll leave it there and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!